Good morning, everyone. So, I figured with my last couple of videos, it's again. I guess by now, anyone that listens to my videos will realize I must have been a really odd child. Yes, I was. Uh, it seemed like I just didn't quite fit in anywhere, but I made it work. Anywho, okay. So traumas, right? A lot of people's problems come from childhood trauma. This, that, I don't know what. All I can tell you is that even as a child, I always tried to do my best. I really did. I it didn't matter on what I took on. I always tried to do my absolute very best. Okay, was it a perfect? Well, I don't know. I know that I always did my very best. Then as I grew up, you go through more stuff. The growing pains into being an adult and this and that. I always tried to do my very best. Always. Always. And I know that, well, it sounds like being anti-war and not willing to risk other people's lives for my own freedom or my own safety. Well, what about if you wouldn't protect your family? If intruders come here and they would. Well, again, I had a vision about that, and we're here for a very short amount of time. Who do I want to be with once I enter eternal life? What are my possibilities? What kind of risks am I willing to take? Even as a child, I realized that I had a nature within myself that I have no problems. If if I would get the okay from spirit world, and I would get the okay from my heavenly Father to go out there and kill his children, I would. I would. I would hunt down every pedophile. I would hunt down every murderer and rapist and child abuser and this and that. I would hunt them down and I would kill them dead. I can do that. I don't have a problem with that. I know I can do that. The reason I know that I can do that is because even as a young child, I realized that I had this red button. I wonder why it is, that red button, right? Atomic bomb thing, nuclear war thing. It's a red button. Why isn't it green or blue? It's a red button. When you get really angry and you fight for justice and you want to fight for justice and you want to get justice for an injustice, you see red. I experienced that. I experienced that in a few occasions in my life, but I also realized on how dangerous I am as a human being when I am angry and mad, and not at someone good, at someone who's bad, at a monster, a beast out there that can rarely be called or can hardly be called a human being, yet they are. They have a spirit like I do. And it scared me. It scared me on how capable I am with, being a woman, not having necessarily the strength of a man, though I was a strong child. I had a lot of strength. And oddly, my siblings are the same way. They physically are really strong. I have another sister. She is physically really strong. Right? So can we beat a man? Absolutely. I didn't get into learning martial arts for all them years and years and years so that I can go out there and kill someone or subdue, okay, subduing, but not to hurt someone, not to hurt someone, to control myself, to control my anger towards injustice. Yeah, it's a weird one. So, yeah, I know what I'm capable of. I know how destructive I can be. I also know on how destructive I can be, not just with my physical strength, but also with my the way I communicate, on how I was told many times in my life, you're too direct, you're too truthful, you're too, and it's hurting people. I'm going, really? Well, that's it. That was even something more so that I had to learn. I'm still learning on how to communicate to people who I feel, how can you not understand? How can you not realize what life is about? How are you so willing to be on a destructive path of someone else, no matter who they are? It doesn't matter who they are. So then here I came to another thing where I saw on how well, children, okay, we all know about special needs children. Okay, special needs children are children who are slow learners, they can't read, they can't sit down. So anybody that's diagnosed with this, okay, see, now I have to watch on how I communicate, because I don't believe in any of that yet. Okay, I acknowledge it is out there, people find comfort in it. So if it is helping you, then okay. ADHD, autism, this, that, which true autism is something completely different than what autism is looked at now. Mental illness is something completely different than what it is looked at now. Yes, you can get spiritually so overwhelmed in your heart to mind most of the time and become a drug addict. I mean, where to the point where, oh my gosh, what are you doing to yourself and others around you? Or an alcoholic. Oh my gosh, really? You don't know your limit? You have no idea on what that means? And then you start hitting in your stupor and this and that, or stealing or whatever, right? Then the addiction needs to be fed. This are often very sensitive people. They're so sensitive from their heart to mind that they can be completely controlled by negative spirit world. Yeah, I know. It's going too far into, but that's every time. Every time I come across someone that I realize, oh wow, and they will have eventually a mental breakdown. And it's very severe. And in order to overcome that, the parts of their system have to be shut down. The thing is that once part of their system is shut down, there really isn't any rehabilitation going on per se in the direction of what? Faith, belief in something much greater than we could ever be a part, could ever establish ourselves. So again, a foundation of faith. You have to have a foundation of faith to overcome. So we have these special needs children. And they're always what? Slow learners. Call them stupid, dumb. They need to be in a special room. Oh, okay. Mentally disabled. Okay, well, okay. That's a whole other kind of thing again, which we can look at it one way or another. You consider something normal, and if it is not, this doesn't fit into that box of normalcy, then we'll categorize them in a different box, rather than, okay, everyone knows that most Mongoloid children are incredibly loving, incredibly intuitive, all they do is operate on the principles of love. They are so pure in many ways. Yet for us, number one, because they don't look right per se. Number two, they have physical limitations, mental limitations, according to us. Then we have to treat them differently, not realizing what a blessing they are, really, when it comes down to every community. Every community. Because their heart to mind will not let them be deceitful. You see? Okay, all right, that's just one example. And the parents who are blessed with a child like that and realize that blessing, it's such a beautiful thing to be able to be a part of. When they share their story, they don't live very long either. That's why they should be treasured even more so. But there's one thing I feel that when it comes to special needs children, one group always seems to be kind of neglected, and that is the ones that excel beyond expectations, again in the normalcy. Well, that would be considered a genius, and yes, there are many children out there who are excelling. Okay? So they have the gifted and talent in classes, this and that, and yet still, okay. I was one of those children that I didn't want to go to school. I just didn't. It was just such a waste of time. Most of what I was taught there, I already knew. It was already all in my heart to mind. It was already there. Okay, I got that. I won't need this as being a part. And it wasted. I felt there was, because all I wanted to do wasted so much of my time as a child. I was always done very quickly with anything I needed to do. My homework was always done. Everything was always done. And yet I was given more to just waste my time with things. I'm going, but I already done that. To busy me so that I would not disrupt the class. Oddly, I was, even as a child, I talked to myself. Okay, I know I didn't talk to myself. Just because other people couldn't see what was around me, this didn't mean I was talking to myself. I look out the window and everybody was reading through a book, and the teacher would catch me, looking out the window and say, okay, I want to catch her now. And say, okay, Danielle, so I'll keep on reading. And I'd look at the book and I'd start reading exactly where we were at. Can't catch me. Right? And yet still, then when, as I said, how can a teacher reprimand you because they're not catching you in the act? Like I wasn't paying attention or anything, right? I'm looking out the window and my mind wanders, and yet I'm still listening to everyone. And I already read the story, and I know exactly where every word is, this, that. So, and I'm hearing, but at the same time, my mind wanders because I'm bored. I'm bored. I'm sitting there and I'm bored. I'm reading a story. I'm going, I read books all week long, all month, all year. I've read so many books when I was a child. I loved the fantasy world. I was one of these, there's different ways when people read. I read with the world. The world was all there. It wasn't just reading and having the words going to my mind. It was like the whole world. However the author was able to create the world in a book, I saw as well. So, multitasking kind of thing. And I realized early on when I would get my report card in Switzerland, they had something where your attention or your behavior, and for one reason or another, I would always get a okay, proficient rather than excellent, because I wasn't 100%. My eyes weren't focused on the the teacher all the time, or that my eyes were on the book reading along with everyone else, because the story was already in my head. It was already there. All the words were already there. So I had time to look at the window. If the teacher wanted to catch me and not paying attention, to reprimand me, and yet it wouldn't work. So in order to show their discontent, right, towards a child, a teacher towards a child, right, they would give me, that would be my, punishment. And to go home with a less than excellent in your behavior was very devastating to my mom. What did you do? Well, I didn't do anything. And then in the explanations, they had to give in explanations. Well, she just dreams all day long. And it's like, that's not true. That wasn't true. And and according to my report card, I was a very intelligent child. So, okay. I guess one is an intelligent child when you are recommended and are getting the only scholarship available for the whole region at a university at the age of 13, right? Yeah, okay. Which I didn't get to go because, yeah, the director realized pretty quickly that my mom wasn't qualified to um, deal with this situation of having a daughter that is, and so he took advantage of that and let her know you're not going to be able to afford this regardless. And she didn't know what to do, and I don't blame her at all. I know where I am today is for a reason. So, but what I want to say with that is that there's too little attention paid to children who are in school. One of my children was like that. Would come home, what is it? Look at your report card. This is terrible. Yeah, and then, well, not really. The only thing I didn't do is the homework, and I don't feel A's and B's in every test. Yet wouldn't do the homework. And that is just through his whole degrade everything into the, how can homework be so important if you have the knowledge in your head? So I was also dealing with a child, I had a child, that I couldn't. I said, well, the thing is that this society is the way it is, and they won't let you get by with that. You're going to suffer in the future if you don't conform to their rules. And yet, that can't stubborn parents have a stubborn child and didn't want to do the homework, and that just kind of destroyed my child's school career. And then got into certain things that, and again, out of what? Boredom. Okay, it's my responsibility, right, as a parent, to know that it's my responsibility, not someone else. I can't blame a teacher, this and that. And yet, right, how many hours do our children spend in school? And there's so much attention being paid to special needs children. Okay, how special needs they are, okay, but still. And yet, then you have that other, the ones that excel above, and where is the attention for them? Where they are being, in a way, also taken care of. Because it's just as devastating for them to have to sit. When you're an intelligent, above average, have a high IQ child in a classroom, regular class, it is so boring. It is boring. It is absolutely boring. It's like you just sit there and you're going, oh my gosh, I have better things to do with my life, even as a very young child. And I guess maybe because of that above intelligence, the outlets that children find aren't all that great. And the thing is they get away with it for a long time because they are so smart per se. So how would I do it? How would I, what would have been good for me? Well, number one, give me the work. Just give me the work. Let me do the work. Then let me go home and read. Let me have my own time. That's my child. But my child says, I'm already spending so many hours in school, and now they want me to waste more time doing stuff I already know, writing it out, this snap. And I tried to explain, well, that's because so they know. So they already know, already tested. Yet I have to do it again. I have to, it's just busy work. And I don't want to do that. I have better things to do. Yeah. But the two realms of which the one my child was in and the one that he was supposed to be in, right, didn't mix. And that's what caused conflict. So, because here's another thing. Why do so many teenagers get into drugs and alcohol and destroy their lives, or sex as well? Right? Is because, in a way, we forget that they're babies they're still babies in the adult world. And the outlets that they need, especially when they're so, really highly intelligent, they're going to look for outlets that it's almost like, where can I get that higher education that I really want? Where can I get the what do you call it? The challenges. Where are the challenges? I think that if we realize that just about every child is a special needs child, because every one of our children is special and an individual, and you can't just put them all in the same box. You just can't. It's not going to work. It's not fair to them. Right? Then I think that getting them away from getting into drugs, right? Getting into alcohol, to way too soon, in a way where then they can't get out of it, and need suddenly rehabilitation from that and all that. If we as adults, as parents, can just, with the school system, if there is just something to be had, something different, how would I do it? Then we could, I'll tell you that in a moment. Then the need, for this extra, that is killing them. It's not exalting them, or it's not giving them that higher education. It's not giving them higher learning. Would then fall away. In a way, it would just, as I said, how can we, is it? If people didn't want it, it wouldn't exist. If people didn't want all them drugs out there, illegal drugs, this heroin, coke, even marijuana, even though that's a plant that's supposed to be used for good, then if people didn't want it, and then suddenly, God almighty, what, sniffing paint, and I don't know what else, just to get high? That's a, what? Oh my gosh, what is going on? The desire for that, in order to eliminate the need for drugs like that, or even alcohol in the excess of excess, then first we need to figure out on how to satisfy the heart to mind to not want that. And we have to start that in our children. And otherwise, I guess that will never change either. The war on drugs, the war on, the sex thing. Ugh, my gosh, it's another, that's just a whole other issue, I guess. And the war on alcoholism, drinking and driving. An adult, why wouldn't any adult do that in their right mind? So, having been a child, right, that was reprimanded by showing in the report card that even though I was an excellent student, but my excellency, my excellency had to be put down a notch because the teacher couldn't control me, per se. Why isn't she? There's nothing worse than people talking while you're trying to give a speech or sing a song, and people not paying attention and just go and talk to someone and think, yeah, and not. But why does a teacher feel that way? A teacher shouldn't feel that way. Or if that is a parent with a child, I'm talking about a child, not adults who should know how to properly behave in whatever surroundings. Talking about an adult to a child, right? Hey, Daniela, what's going on? Are you bored? And I could say, yes, absolutely, 100%. Okay, I'll tell you what. I already know that you read way above anyone's level here, this, that. You're good with this. So I'll tell you what you can do. You can go ahead and take your book out and you can read. A teacher knows their students. Right? Oh, I would have. Okay, sounds great. But then with the other kids, right. So then why not just take me out and say, okay, why don't you go on and go to the lounge, right? I'm going to, yep, and anyone that is above that level, because you can go to the lounge, then I'll, so you see there? Then suddenly the teacher has more time with the rest of the children. Why would a teacher pay so much attention to me, a child who excels way above, right, anyone's reading level there and comprehension of the reading level? Pay attention to me rather than a student who's having a really hard time reading, maybe realizing that child has dyslexia. That has to be approached differently. No, the teacher spends so much time watching me, trying to catch me in the act of looking at the window. You see what I'm talking about? Yes. Why is that? Why are adults doing that to children? Right there is part of the problem. Why? Why instead of finding ways and saying, we need to talk about this. We have a couple of children, and I have a couple of children in the classes. They're so bored, but they have something they're really interested in, would love to do rather than. So why can't we put them somewhere aside, somewhere, so they can finish out the class, right? And then pull them back in for, right? There might have been, geometry. Would have been, for example, one, okay, I love geometry, but for some reason, I don't know. I guess I was too much into quantum physics already in my mind, so I disagreed with the forms of the shapes and in the way that it was expressed. So, yeah, but there's more to it. You're not seeing the depth on the. So I always thought 3-dimensional, sometimes 4-dimensional. Okay, how does that work? Okay, that's 3-dimensional is okay, an object with volume. Then 4-dimensional is an object with volume plus the external body of compression and okay. All right. Pressure. Okay. So I would, and of course the answers were, I had to really concentrate on only the really simple thing on it in order for to pass geometry. And I did. I passed, but I would keep, and the teacher said, but that's not the right answer. I said, yes, it is the right answer if, right. Okay. So, yeah, but again, because I needed to pass, right? I needed to pass that level of geometry that a teacher with other children who were so good at it and said, okay, you go ahead and you do all this, and then I can concentrate on the ones that are kind of, okay, either like me or thinking outside of the box, and that does not, you can't do that when you're just, what, a 6th grader, a 7th grader, right? Yes? And say, okay, you have to first, this is just the curriculum. Stick with the curriculum. All right. Why do you think I was, we got to just get her into university and let's get rid of her so she can get into the complicated stuff. Well, anyway, so there is that. So my video today, what I want to say is, I'm against war. I'm against killing anyone. I'm against, and the reason is because I know what I'm capable of. If I am for special needs children's classrooms, then there should be that shouldn't exist per se. They should all be together. You shouldn't make anybody a special needs child per se. It should be done in a way where a child still is a part of a group, and yet in the way that the system takes care of each of them, because you want them all in school. Why do you want them there? Right? You want them there. You even get fines if your child is not being sent to school. Truant officers, that's what they're called. You have to have a note from a doctor if your child is absent more than 3 days with sickness. So you're telling me that you want them there. It's not like, well, why do we even have them there? So you want them there? Well, then fix the school system, the school experience for children, so that it does fit everyone's needs. How would I do that? Number one, get rid of them chairs and desks. That's just, ugh. One thing that children love to do more than anything else, and that goes way into, right, even being a teenage, this and that, is talk about things. Okay? Experience things hands-on, and because there's all this energy. We're putting children on a chair in front of a desk, and we want them to sit there for hours and hours and hours with a few minutes in between where they can go and play. By the time they're about ready to really get a sweat up and really get into it, it's time to go and sit in the chair again. This makes no sense. It shouldn't make any sense to anyone out there, because we were all children at one time or another as well. Oh, wait a second. I was a child who loved, don't bother me, I'm reading, right? I would read to school on my way to school. I would read on my way back to school, from back home, anywhere. The only thing I couldn't do is read in the car. I get seasick. I get so car sick. Right? It's difficult for me to sit in the back seat as well, though I did. And yes, one of those things my body just doesn't like. So that was the only time I couldn't read. I was in a car, which would have been so nifty if I could have. Yeah. So do you understand what I'm saying? I would get rid. I would put couches in there, or just pillows on the floor, and let them roll around on the roll around on the floor. This that. Children, I know my children. Some of them they did all their homework on their bed. I'm going, don't you want to sit at the desk? No, I'm perfectly fine. I'm good. I'm perfectly fine here. Huh? Yes. Yeah. So I would not have been surprised if I had found one on one of their horses, and what are you doing? Homework? Oh, okay. Except for the one. Yep. Oh, you're not doing your homework again. No, I already know it all. Okay. I didn't fight my child on that. I didn't. Maybe I should have, but I didn't. I didn't want to. And when I did go to school, and I said, okay, I'm not getting this. And all the teachers were so happy with my child. This, that, but the report card is, oh, that's because. And I said, but if my child knows all the answers already, if all the knowledge is already there in my child's mind, then why are you using homework to bring down the report card to what it is? I'm not understanding that. Well, that's just how the system is, and that's how it's graded on, and this and this. Okay, then the school system is failing my child, because it isn't about intelligence. Then it isn't about knowledge. It isn't about knowing the content of the curriculum. It's about your control over a child to do what you want it to do. My child realized, you're wasting my time. I'm not doing it. When I go home and it's my time to be, it's my time. I want it to be my time. I want to do what I want to do. Not keep having to do busy work just because you can make me. Was my child so wrong? Yeah. Well, anyway, so the school system should be overhauled. That's all I have to say. I guess in every country. Maybe some countries have it down right. As I said, the number one thing, to put a child that has so much energy, they're just energy, that all they have is energy. And some are more quiet. It's not, I get that too. Some have a lot to tell. That teachers aren't being taught to find the strength of every child. Right? You find the strength of every child, right? And then incorporate it into your whole classroom. And then suddenly you have A whole classroom, not of special needs children. You have a whole classroom of really amazing children who want to learn, and their specialties that can be given to the others. Right? Suddenly they become helpers to each other. And a teacher, okay, guys, right? And everybody will pay attention. Happiness. Happiness in a classroom, right? What amazing human beings would come out of a classroom like that? Yes. Do I have all the answers? Absolutely. Yeah. Can one just go and say, look, you need to change something. You got it. This isn't working. This hasn't been working in a long time. Right? Otherwise, so many teenagers wouldn't be going looking for all the wrong things. Right? Yes? Well, but the family life, this and that. Yeah, okay. Well, that's another excuse, but okay. But the main thing, our children have to spend so much time in a chair behind a desk doing what? Even though their life is just beginning. They're just, yeah, so exuberant. And instead of furthering that and heightening that exuberance, right? The zest for life, right? The zest for goodness, early on they're being taught to subdue that. That's the big problem in our society, right? Yes? Okay. Well, here we go. God's love and blessings always, and I will talk to you all and good night.